Okay, I was just sharing this with one of my friends, and then I thought this is like really cool, and everybody could hear it. So, have y'all heard Have y'all heard the song Jireh by Elevation Worship? Absolutely love it. But if you didn't know, like Jehovah Jireh is one of the names of God in the Bible, probably primarily in the Old Testament, but I mean, I'm sure he's referred to that throughout the whole Bible. But Jireh means God is our provider. And if you remember Abraham and Sarah, Abraham was like promised to be the father of many nations, that his children would outnumber the sand and the stars. And yet he never had like children of his own. And him and his wife were like 100 years old, and God promised them a son. And I mean, he had promised them a son for a while. And they just thought, like, I think they even tried to like have children. Okay, this is going to be a few-part thing. I think it cut off. I was saying, I think he even like tried to have a child with his maidservant, like thinking, okay, this isn't going to happen. She can't have kids. We'll try it this way. And yeah, because that was Ishmael. And yep, okay. So sorry, I need to freshen up on this a little bit, and so some things might be a little bit off, but I'm gonna tell you what I like remember from. I studied this a couple weeks ago, but sorry. So basically, like trying to manipulate things and take them into his own hands because God made him a promise, and he was too impatient to wait for God to fulfill that promise. And I think we do that so often. But anyways. It goes to be where his wife Sarah does get pregnant, and when she finds out she's pregnant, when the angel tells her she's pregnant, she laughs, and they ended up naming him Isaac, which means laughter, because of that. But literally like laughed at God, like, I'm 100 years old, I'm not pregnant, but she was. And God delivered the promise that he promised them, and they did have a son, and all of the tribes of Israel came through them. So many people were blessed through them, and that's a whole nother story in its own. But to stick to this one, so they get this child that they were promised, and it's the child with the wife that he loved, not with his maidservant. This is the so this is the child that God promised, that he loves. This is like his one beloved son that he has, and God tells him to sacrifice him. And so he's like, God, I don't even think he really questioned him, honestly, because he was so faithful. But I know I would be like, dude, I asked you for this child my whole life, and you give him to me, and now I have to sacrifice him. Like, why? And so, but he takes him up this mountain, and it was like several different times. I want to say it was like 3 times. His son's like, because, sacrifices were normal back then. That's what they did. That's how they had atonement for their sins. And so, he's getting up the mountain, and he's taking his son with him to help him, and he's used to the custom. He knows that they sacrifice things to God. He's like, Dad, where's the animal? Like, what are we sacrificing today? And he has to be thinking. And child sacrifices were not like rare then either, because a lot of people sacrifice their children to like other gods, like the god of the sun or whatever, and they felt like they had to keep these gods happy in order to like have rain and all these things. So like child sacrifices were a thing, not in the Christian faith, but in other religions it was a thing. So he knows of people who have sacrificed their kids for sure. And he's like, Dad, we're going up this mountain to make a sacrifice. Where's the sacrifice? And his dad just keeps saying, God will provide. And sure enough, he gets there, and he goes to bound his son to sacrifice him, because he was going to do it. He was obedient to God. He was faithful throughout his whole life. And so he goes to sacrifice him, and an angel. So they get to the top of the mountain, he bounds him up, he goes to sacrifice him, and an angel appears and says, like, an angel or God, I don't know. They're like, hey, don't worry about it. We see that you're faithful, we respect it, and like basically it was a test and you passed. You're faithful, and we're going to let you keep your son, and God will provide. And he looks over, there's a ram tied in the thistles, the thorns or whatever, and God provided the sacrifice on that mountain. So he names it Jireh to commemorate what happened, that God provided. And in Hebrew, Jireh translates to Jireh. So Jireh, Jehovah Jireh, means God is our provider. So there's this new song, and it talks all about how, like, God is enough. But there's this new song called Jireh, and it's all about how God is our provider and how we can be content in every circumstance, and how he's enough. He's more than enough. And we're already loved, we're already chosen. Like, there's nothing that we need in this world but him, because he is enough. And so many times, like, I just find peace in that song, because despite my circumstances, despite what's going on, I can have peace and know that God is enough, that God is my provider, that God takes care of all situations, and that he loves me and he chose me despite, if other people can see my worth, he put that in me and no one can take that from me. So I just wanted to share that as a reminder today. I was telling one of my friends about it, and I thought everybody needed to hear it. So I hope that was encouraging. And the details of that story might have been a little bit off. I'll have to brush. But yeah, I feel like that was pretty accurate. The details might be off like a little bit. I'll have to go back and brush up on the story, and if I got anything wrong, I'll put it in the comments that I made a mistake. But you can read it for yourself. I'll find the text and put it there too. But I just thought it was a really good reminder of God's goodness and faithfulness and just his love for us, and how sometimes people say, like, you know, why would a good God flood the earth? Why would a good God let these things happen? And you have to think, like, why did he even spare us at all? Like, we were so wicked and so far from him, but yet he gave us a second chance, and he's always giving us a second chance. Then he gave us a whole chance of redemption to be with him. Like, he is so gracious, he is so forgiving, and he's so just, and you really just can't even, you know, argue that. And then people say, well, why do people do bad things? I truly believe, but why do bad things happen? Why do people do bad things? I truly believe that people are wicked. You know, we're born with we're sinful. But I also believe that, you know, demonic forces play a lot in things that happen, things that we can't explain. How could someone possibly do that to a child, to, you know, whoever, mass shootings, all these things. The Bible says to remember that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against, like, principalities and demonic things and spiritual things that we cannot see. So you have to remember there's a whole nother, like, spiritual realm at force that we can't see. There's demonic possession, there's oppression, and I feel like that plays a huge part in, you know, the crazy things that happen in the world that we just don't have an answer for. But know that God is still on the throne, he is still in control, and he is still good. So